Hello there. Thank you very much for downloading the Elis James and John Robbins Show on XFM podcast. Great to have you listening. We've just finished the show and it was very good. I really enjoyed it. We were both tired for very different reasons. Elis because of a late night Lee Delamere Services splurge.
I had a cheese and ham toastie at 3:13 a.m. and an Earl Grey I sat in.
And me because of a special treat which you'll find out about during the show. There's another tense round of Winner Plays On.
And a Sacred Cow with a difference. Sacred
Cow with a slight difference there. So, thank you very much.
Are you right, John? You look very down.
I think the tiredness has hit me now, because obviously the adrenaline for the show, I had about 5 hours sleep. You had about 2 hours sleep, am I right?
I am a legend. I'm a cool guy who doesn't believe in tiredness. I think tiredness is propaganda from caffeine companies.
Right, okay, so
yeah, I still think it exists. I think as long as you think like that, you don't get tired. And I think before Nescafe, Kenco, Maxwell House, Mellow Birds.
I haven't heard the words Maxwell House for 25 years.
But I think before Maxwell House came on the scene, sort of late 60s, I don't think people complained of being tired. I think it's all we're just being fed it by men's magazines and the sort of the corrupt health industry. So as long as you think like that, the fact that I've only had 2 hours sleep because I was in Lee Delamere Services at 3:30 a.m. eating a ham and cheese toast after a gig in Hay-on-Wye, you realise that you're more than capable of subsisting on 30 minutes.
And anyone awaiting more ulcer updates, unfortunately we didn't have time for it in this show, but I can confirm they are on the wane. They're not fully gone. For anyone wanting tips, I have found after I cracked and got really upset and went to Boots and bought every single thing possible to treat ulcers, I can say the one thing that worked was Manuka honey. Get a very high level of Manuka honey, just take a teaspoon a day, swill it round the ulcerated area, and it eventually begins to soothe them. Tastes very nice.
Again, I don't believe in ulcers.
You can't not believe in ulcers. You saw them last week.
Yeah, but I think it's psychosomatic. I think it's propaganda from the sort of the Bonjela industry.
Elis is a leading conspiracy theorist.
I don't remember anyone having an ulcer up until about 2005.
He believes 9/11 was a CGI graphic on behalf of the concrete industry.
It was a hologram, and it was the decree of George Bush.
Right. We're going to have to stop this before I punch you in the face.
Right, okay. Well, anyway, hope you enjoyed the podcast.
XFM. Elis James and John Robbins on XFM podcast.
That was Snap Out of It by the Arctic Monkeys. You are listening to XFM and the sound of a microphone being moved by a tardy presenter. I am John Robbins. It's Sunday morning, and to my left is the first qualified paddy diving instructor in Cwmbran. It's Mr. Elis James.
Good morning.
Is Cwmbran near the sea?
It's near enough.
Good.
It would be a commute.
But most of your lessons take place in the local baths, don't they?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Elis has been very tardy this morning because he drove in and couldn't find a parking space because he got here too late. Robbins, on the other hand, got here at a reasonable hour and was able to find a space pretty early on, so saved himself the princely sum of £25, which Elis will now be paying for parking.
Yes, and I'm not happy about it.
He was very sweaty when he got here at 7 minutes to 10. Like, deeply sweaty man. And he's wearing a shirt. He looks like he's come from a meeting.
Thanks, mate.
How are you this morning, Elis?
Good. I feel slightly undermined.
But
other than that, I'm great.
Good.
So, but you, I know my weekend was normal. It was normal.
Well, come on, you told me you ate in at Lee Delamere Services at 3 a.m. last night.
Yes, I did do that. And also, beforehand, the reason I was coming back from Lee Delamere at 3 a.m. was that I was performing at the Hay Literary Festival and stood in a buffet queue between Ian McEwan, the novelist,
No way.
and Monty Don.
Yeah, quite good.
But that is not as special.
Well,
It's not as special as your weekend.
You've
is
tried
it?
to trump my major anecdote.
Yeah, but I haven't trumped it, have I? Because stood in the buffet queue between Monty Don and Ian McEwan.
If it hadn't been Monty Don, if it had been
Jeanette Winterson,
Robert Fisk, freelance war correspondent, or
he was there. Kate Adie was there.
Was she?
My parents saw her live.
Did they?
Yeah.
What's she like live?
She does a lot of the B-sides.
Yeah, she's renowned for not doing any of the hits.
Yeah,
Kate Adie.
long solos.
And what did they learn?
They learnt that the First World War was taught poorly in schools.
Lovely stuff. Coming up from Kate Adie's third album, Trenches.
But that is not as special as your weekend, which I would regard as probably, until you get married, the biggest weekend of your life, John.
Well, you say weekend. Friday, I had another curry on my own,
Yeah.
which I also did last week,
Right.
after having 5 p.m. wine with a friend, and then went home and just didn't do anything. It was quite sad.
Okay, all right. So let's write off Friday. That's fine. But I think Friday. I think we can forget Friday.
We can forget Friday.
We can forget Friday when we find out what you did on Saturday, can't we, John?
Ladies and gentlemen, on Saturday, I attended the last ever live performance of Smash musical We Will Rock You, featuring Messrs Brian May on guitar, Messer Roger Taylor on drums for the last 2 songs, a star-studded invited audience, including normal punters as well, and some genuinely worrying Queen fans. Okay, Elis,
I like this. This is rich. John Robbins saying some genuinely worrying Queen fans.
Oh, okay, well, let's put it like this. After Smash Hit musical We Will Rock You finished, I saw 3 people crying. How's this for a list of top celebs
Right.
I saw or sat in and around?
Okay.
Anita Dobson.
Right.
Obviously.
Yeah, of course.
Roger Taylor's daughter.
How did you recognise her?
Because someone told me that was who it was. The guy off Channel 4 and 5 cricket coverage.
Okay, big Queen fan.
Yep. A guy who looked like Lawrence Llewellyn-Bowen. But wasn't.
But wasn't it? Right, okay.
And now, Elis, Anthea the Body Turner.
Ooh.
Anthea the Body Turner.
The
woman Alan Partridge described as the Ford Escort Cabriolet of middle-aged women. She sat next to me with...
next.
I was in front of Anita Dobson, behind Taylor's daughter. On my left was Anthea the Body Turner with her husband.
Oh, that's it.
And they talked throughout the whole thing. And it was so annoying.
Yeah.
And he was bouncing around, gesticulating. They talked through moving acoustic ballad, These Are the Days of Our Lives.
Oh.
I realised I can't tell Anthea the Body Turner to shut up. But I really wanted to, and other people wanted to as well. But she's obviously never ever been told to be quiet, because she's always Anthea the Body Turner at every event. Coming up, after some music, we will hear the second part of my experience last night, and I dare say it gets rather more exciting.
Elis James and John Robbins podcast. XFM.
I'm sure the nation is on tenterhooks. So you're sat next to Anthea Turner. She's been talking throughout, which is very irritating. You're enjoying the show Queens, We Will Rock You. What happens next?
Well, we've just found out on Google it wasn't Anthea Turner's husband, it was her new love, Richard Farley, off of Dragon's Den.
Dragon's Den?
I like you, mate. I think it's a great idea, and you're a good guy, but I'm not going to invest, because I'm going to talk through We Will Rock You's final performance ever with Anthea Turner, the Body Turner, and sit next to John Robbins. Hi, I'd like to offer you a 20% stake in my company, Billionaire Mufflers, for billionaires who sit through the final performance of major smash hit Queen musicals. And I think if we only get 1% of the market, we'll be all multi-billionaires.
I don't think it's that much of a problem, actually, talking through musicals.
Our research shows that 100% of John Robbins's have had their appreciation for smash hit Queen-based musicals ruined by Richard Farley from ex-Dragon's Den man.
It's funny, actually, because I'm called Richard Farley, and I saw that, and I chatted. So I chatted. What's that?
Yes, that's where I got the idea from, Richard.
Oh.
It was me. You spoilt it. You talked through These Are the Days of Our Lives, which is very moving, actually, and you were gesticulating and banging the seats, and a lot of people were annoyed, but couldn't say it to Anthea the Body Turner.
Sorry, I'm only just sort of going out with Anthea the Body Turner, but still at that stage of our relationship we've got plenty to talk about. For instance, I didn't know she was on Blue Peter, which I watched as a cut.
Well, Richard Farley, maybe if you'd spent more time watching the musical and less time stroking Anthea the Body Turner's arm, which you did a lot.
Nice
I was
arm.
worried she might actually get a rash. You were really stroking her arm a lot.
It's a nice arm. She's my new love.
Well, just zip it, mate.
Right. No. Well, I mean, I can't offer you a steak, but real sorry, John. I like Queen. Well, do I? I don't know. Are you annoyed with me, John?
Yes, Richard, I am. There was a... bye, Richard. We should end that. Sorry, to get back into the real world.
We should end that.
Bannatyne would have had the decency to keep stum.
Bannatyne would have punched him. I've read Bannatyne's book.
Have you?
Bannatyne used to get into lots of fights when he was in the Navy as a youth.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Bannatyne would have... James Caan would have sat quietly.
Theopophaetus, I think, would have had a word.
He'd have had a... Well, Theopophaetus would probably have a little booster seat and be quite happy to be there. Richard Farley, actually, is a very short man.
Is he? I think Meaden would have been like, for crying out loud!
Oh, Meaden would have put a stop to it first.
Yeah.
But you cross Meaden once, max.
Yeah.
And she just pops back to her Devon mansion with her horses and in her Jag.
Yeah.
Which is...
But you don't cross her again.
No, you never cross her again. So, sorry, we had an extended...
It's extended improv riff. Where you played an angry John Robbins and I played Richard Farley.
FM, Elis James and John Robbins podcast.
That was AKA What a Life. I don't get that. AKA What a Life?
I don't get it either, but I will not hear a word said against Noel Gallagher.
I'm not saying anything against him. I'm just saying his meaning is unclear.
Producer Dave giving me a very sage nod of the head. Oh, yes. Stockport-born producer Dave will not hear a word said against Burnage-born Gallagher.
Unless it's a tribute to the assault rifle.
I thought that, but then I thought it was too dark to mention at 10:30 in the morning. But Robbins has got in there. He's edgy. He's a commie. He doesn't care about
I think
war.
our listeners are comfortable with the existence of assault weaponry. In case of national crisis, I think any XFM listener would say, yes, bring out the AK-47s. Someone is threatening the Queen. Speaking of Queen, so we will rock you, the Dominion Theatre. Elis has got his finger. Are you making a point?
No, I'm not making a point. I just cannot wait to hear how this ends, because you wouldn't tell me beforehand, because you said save it for the radio well, and I said I'm not saving anything. I just want to know.
So, the after party begins. I have black wristband access, which I'm now still wearing, and
like those losers who still have their Glastonbury wristbands on in December. Yeah,
Yes.
okay, that's fine. Carry on.
my girlfriend has joined the party, having come from her gig in Soho. We're now in the VIP all access zone. Anthea the Body Turner is milling round. That blonde woman and man are getting lots of photos taken of them. The guy who looks like Lawrence Llewellyn-Bowen has not got access. So we wait, we're sort of milling around, and my agent is there, and he's the one who said he's going to give me an intro to Taylor and May. He doesn't surface. May and Taylor don't surface for about 45 minutes, so I'm kind of thinking, oh, this isn't going to happen. And I'm very down. Suddenly, a hush fills the room. Dobson enters. Anita, May's lovely wife.
Anita, you planning on being back in EastEnders anytime soon?
She looks gorgeous. Lovely dress. Soon after that, the large, non-permed white hair of Sir Brian May enters the room. He then begins to make his way through about 200 people, saying lots of hellos, lots of photos being taken, and I'm just there thinking, I want to be your best friend. But I come too shy. Then Taylor enters. They have a few photos taken, because in that suite it's all photos of Freddie Mercury, so they're posing for photos with some press there. Taylor then exits, brushes my shoulder, and my girlfriend went, well, at least he brushed your shoulder. I said, you can't put that on the wall. And Taylor's then gone into a smaller area with Anthea the Body Turner.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, friends and family members, a woman who I was sat next to, who then didn't look at me even though we talked, whose gardener whose ex-husband used to be Freddie Mercury's gardener in 1989. This has about been an hour and a quarter now. I've not met either, so I think, okay, I'm just going to embarrass myself in front of Roger Taylor, and if I get a photo, great.
What did you do?
No, I didn't plan anything specifically embarrassing. I thought I'm going to interrupt him and say,
all right. I thought you're going to push the panic button and do something that you really regret.
This will get his attention. I go towards Taylor, and unbelievably, he's dragged away by Anthea the Body Turner. And I'm like, Anthea the Body Turner is ruining my night.
I've got a Blue Peter badge.
She talked through with Richard Farley. She's now stealing Roger Taylor away. Luckily, I've got an in, because someone told me that Roger Taylor's son, his first son, whose name and middle name I know because I'm a Queen fan, so I know the names of all his kids, is trying to get into comedy. He is he's doing some sketch stuff.
Right.
So I tap Roger on the shoulder and I say, hi Roger, I'm
Roger Taylor. I mean, no.
We have the same agent in a way. I mean, he's not your agent, and he's not technically my agent, but the producer of the show is responsible for my agent. I'm a big fan. I'm your son, and I'm a stand-up comedian, and I hear your son's going into comedy. And Roger Taylor goes, oh, great, yeah. I'll go and get him. You should hang out with him and talk to him. And so he goes to get his son to talk to me, and I'm thinking, it's good. Is this good? Is this going well? I'm now going to talk to Roger Taylor's son. He's great.
You talked to Dweezil Zappa.
Did talk to Dweezil Zappa. So anyway, I'm chatting to his son. His son is a lovely man.
Right.
I tell him that I was a member of the fan club for 10 years, 92 to 2002. He says those were the fallow years. I say, yes, exactly. Roger's now being taken away even further.
Not by Anthea the Body Turner.
No, so now my girlfriend is chatting to Roger Taylor's son. I'm sort of just sat there with my rosé, feeling like an idiot, and about 3 times I sort of reach out, Roger, can I just, sorry. Oh. Eventually, I get a photo of myself, arm in arm, with the greatest rock drummer ever, which we are now going to tweet on the XFM Twitter feed. I was then on a high. I was on a cloud as fluffy and as white as Taylor's well-manicured beard. I then returned to the main room. The stars were aligning, but May was drinking a can of Guinness and eating Thai food. And I didn't want to interrupt him while he was drinking and eating, because obviously the guy's tired, he's emotional. It's the end of a 12-year run.
He's in his 60s?
He's probably, yes, definitely is in his 60s. So luckily, May is there. I'm about 12 feet from May. My agent walks in and I go, please now, if ever, let's do it now. He goes, all right, let's just butt in. So walks through. Loads of people are around May. He just walks straight through. Someone does a fart, which is bad because that's in the air when I'm meeting May. My agent goes, oh, someone's farted. That's awkward. Oh, Brian, this is my mate. I want you to meet him. He's a big fan. May turns to me. He shakes my hand. All 6'2" of him.
I think it's all 6 fingers.
Well, that's the man who played such great licks.
Yeah.
I say, hi, Brian. In 1998, I saw you at the Colston Hall in Bristol, and I gave my guitar to a security guard. It was the Guild copy of your guitar, and you signed it. And then when I got it home, I opened the little pocket inside, and you'd written a note saying "All the best, play good, Brian May," and it made my year. And every time I think about it, I get a little buzz, and I'm a big fan. And he said, "Oh, that's really great. Oh, I'm pleased." And I said, he was so tired. He must have just been absolutely exhausted. And he said, "What do you do?" And I said, "I'm a stand-up comedian." And he said, "Oh, good luck out there."
Oh.
And I got a photo taken with him, which we're now going to tweet, me and Sir Brian May, the greatest rock guitarist in history. Well, equal first with Frank Zappa. And that was when I started to get, just to feel a little bit emotional.
I wonder if they're telling this story.
Oh, God.
He's having a cafeteria of coffee and a bacon sandwich. Like, I met a stand-up comedian last night. He seemed quite nervous, but, I was nervous as well. I mean, I said good luck to him. I just got a huge respect for what stand-up comedians do. I think it's the hardest game in the world. I think someone farted, actually, but I don't think it wasn't him.
Elis James and John Robbins podcast
XFM.
on XFM.
To my right is he's still glowing. He's absolutely still buzzing. It's like you've been to the gym. I've never actually seen you look like this.
Putting my arm round Brian May was the closest I've been to going to the gym for quite some time.
Running a half marathon. I'm sat next to John Robbins, who met his all-time favourite musicians, Brian May and Roger Taylor, last night. Now, we've tweeted the photo of the best night of John's life. It's on the XFM Twitter feed, so do check it out. Because I think the photo with you and Roger Taylor, you look like you're mates. It's a sort of house party.
What do you mean, like we're mates?
You look like your mates because you're not his friend.
I'm going to go to his yacht and be a Ritz.
You got your arm round him, you're in the kitchen at a house party, you've laughed at the host CDs, you're drinking cans of Orange Boom, always room for a boom. The photo with Brian May, you do look a little bit nervous, I think.
Yeah,
but that's understandable. That's absolutely fine.
Okay, well, here's my explanation for that. Roger Taylor is uncommonly nice, relaxed man, puts everyone at ease. I didn't feel like I was interrupted. I didn't feel like a fan around him. With Brian, who was slightly more sort of having to go around everyone in the room, I felt very much like a little... I'm so conscious of not embarrassing myself or being an idiot. That sort of went... Whereas with Roger, it's just like, oh, hey.
Yeah, and Brian's got a PhD to finish.
I finished it, mate.
I know, I was just making a joke about PhDs.
So, yeah, both absolutely wonderful men. Brian slightly more sensitive, I think, and probably feeling a bit more emotional about the end of the run, because it's a 12-year project he's been involved with.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Biggest thing he's done since the band. Roger was around sort of friends, lots of friends and family and stuff. Oh. Also, May is the more recognisable face for like press and things because of his hair and stuff.
Well, what we want from you, the listeners this morning, is your stories of meeting famous people, your heroes, especially if you embarrassed yourself. Now, I don't think you embarrassed yourself. I think you came across pretty well. But if you have some sort of an idol, maybe your favourite musician, favourite film star, or something, and you met them and it went a bit wrong, do text us on 83936 or tweet us at XFM, because I think that's it for you now. You've met all of the heroes, haven't you, I suppose? May and John Deacon.
Yeah.
But you're not going to get to meet him.
Well, okay, I've got a potential in, but that would be... he might kick off. Because he's a very private man.
Well, then let's leave that, John.
Let's just say I know someone who knows where he lives.
On behalf of John Deacon, I'm telling you to back off. Text us 83936, tweet us at XFM, your stories of meeting your idols.
XFM. Elis James and John Robbins on XFM podcast.
Fever by the Black Keys. We've had lots of your texts and tweets in about... meeting your heroes and getting it a little bit wrong. We've had some real belters, actually. This is my favourite, because I'm also a huge Beatles fan. I met George Harrison at the Canadian Grand Prix in 1999. I was so excited that all I could say was, "Are you George Harrison?" He simply shook his head at me, gave me a withering look and walked off. Fair enough, really, considering the idiotic question from Tom in Amersham. Gutted, because you only get one stab at it.
one shot of it.
When you're talking about meeting the Beatles, shot is not a better word than stab.
Oh my God!
You've got to get the Beatle in your sights.
Nice.
And
it's one of the worst things I've ever done on air.
Christmas Day.
Oh dear. Anyway, you only get one bite at the cherry. Is that fine? I can say that, can I? One bite at the cherry of meeting a Beatle.
The problem is, and this is what I was very conscious of last night when I met May and Taylor, is that there is absolutely no way you can or should attempt to tell that person what they mean to you, how much you like them, what you know about them in 20 seconds. Because you've got a minute max.
Yeah.
And all you can say, I think, is, hey, sorry to interrupt. I'm a really big fan, really enjoyed it. Could I get a photo?
You're never going to be the biggest fan.
No.
Because there'll be some absolute nutcase lunatic who's a bigger fan.
Well, luckily they weren't, because this was a slightly VIP shindig with Anthea the Body Turner. We weren't dealing with that.
But you can't contextualise it in that way by saying, "Oh, I love you," so you just got to go, big fan, love the records, can I have a photo? Bang, you're out of the room.
And if you get to meet their son for 5 minutes, that's a bonus.
XFM. Elis James and John Robbins on XFM podcast.
It's time for one of our favourite parts of the show now. Your classic. It's the feature everyone's talking about. It's Sacred Cow.
XFM's Sacred Cow. Sacred Cow. Sacred Cow.
And it's an interesting one this week because usually John or I will nominate a band that we think shouldn't be as venerated as they are, doesn't deserve their place in the sort of paddock of sacred cows. But this week we had a couple of texts and tweets in from the listeners asking us to discuss a certain band, and both John and I feel so strongly that they should be in the paddock because they're so fantastic and they deserve to be there on merit, that we feel that we can't do it. So we're asking for you. We're asking for your input on the band we're discussing is the Smiths.
So you go and you stand on your own, and you leave on your own.
I know John feels the same, absolutely adore the Smiths. As far as I'm concerned, they can't do anything wrong, and all of their records are perfect, and the world is a better place with them in it. But they divide opinion.
Yeah, and we want you to basically persuade us, or at least to give us things that we can debate, because we're racking our brains, and I think it's almost impossible that they could be put into the abattoir of overratedness. Up on the wall we have our paddock of sacred cows, in which you will find Jimi Hendrix, The Who, REM, The Doors, annoyingly the Sex Pistols. In the abattoir you'll find Metallica, Floyd, Prince, U2, Springsteen, and I don't know of any reason why you wouldn't put the Smiths in. I'll give you a few reasons why they're great. They stopped at the right time and didn't reform.
That's a good reason.
I think that's a massive reason. So, for example, Led Zeppelin, who we discussed last week, pretty much every time they've got together since then has been an absolute car crash.
I'm not sure I agree with that, but anyway, carry on.
Well, I've been reading up on them because they're your topic for our quiz later.
Yes, I wish I hadn't chosen Led Zeppelin because I don't think I know as much about them as I thought.
They've since done
why yesterday.
They've since done gigs which they've described as an atrocity, foul, an embarrassment. Whereas the Smiths stopped at, well, not necessarily the right time. Obviously, it'd been great if they'd gone on longer, but just never. There was nothing.
They were never rubbish.
No, and a great deal of, even though obviously lawsuits have followed, some dignity in their refusal to reform, because they could make an insane amount of money.
Yes, that's true.
Also, their hit rate of belters is astonishing on their albums. They are all killer.
Yeah.
No filler.
And also, the argument that really annoys me about the Smiths when people go, "Oh, they're so boring, so depressing, they're so depressing." They're funny. They make me laugh
so much Morrissey's lyrics. I laugh out loud at the Smiths sometimes. The only band I laugh more at than the Smiths is Half Man, Half Biscuit, who also make the world a much better place. But we'll discuss them at another time.
I think the idea that you have anthems for gentleness and for being sort of backwards and coming forwards and non-aggressive, even though, that said, you were telling me about a documentary and their fans are almost like football fans. They chant
that's the thing. People, I think if you haven't been to a Smiths gig or a Morrissey gig, you don't realise that it's like a football crowd. So I saw, it's all on YouTube, the first solo show Morrissey did after the Smiths split was in 1988 at the Civic Hall in Wolverhampton. And his fans are there from about 2 p.m, and they just chanted, Morrissey, Morrissey, and he walks on, and it's like an FA Cup final. And people get on this. I saw a documentary about Morrissey, and he's playing in the Albert Hall in London, and people are getting on the stage and they're hugging him and stuff. And it's lads music. A lot of football hooligans were into the Smiths, which is hilarious when their lyrics are things like, "I was the sun in the air of a shyness that is criminally vulgar."
It takes guts to be gentle and kind.
Love that song. It takes guts to be gentle and kind. What an incredible motto for life that is, and one I agree with.
Yeah, and also he was like his stance on vegetarianism and stuff in the 80s. No one else was talking about stuff like that really, and he got a lot of stick. And I know that he's made the odd misstep since, but their records, and I think they were getting better. That's the thing with the Smiths, that their last 2 albums are their best albums, and you think if only they'd been able to stay together for a bit longer, what could they have been capable of? It would have been fantastic. So, if you disagree with us, if you think that the Smiths are overhyped and they don't deserve to be in the paddock of sacred cows, text us at 83936 or tweet us at XFM, because we'd really like to hear from you, because both John and I feel very strongly about this.
Elis, James and John Robbins podcast. XFM.
That was the poorly enunciated California Waiting by Kings of Leon. What was he talking about at the end there? That was silly.
It was silly. It's a shame that you described the song as poorly enunciated, and then you fluffed your line in it. As soon as you did it, I thought, I hope that makes the podcast.
Well, I was so conscious of you getting the word enunciated right that I then couldn't
forgot how to
say
speak.
California.
Yeah, well,
which is a word I'm usually pretty good with.
What you want? You need the word California said on the radio. Get Robbins in.
XFM. Elis, James and John Robbins podcast.
It's time to decide whether the Smiths are paddock or abattoir bound. If you missed the start of this, we've been asked to discuss the Smiths, but John and I both feel so strongly that they should go into the paddock of sacred cows. We didn't feel we could do it, so we've asked for your input on the texts and tweets. And we've had a few people have said that they think they're overrated. The Smiths were great, but Moz and Mar's treatment of Rourke and Joyce, who were essential to the Smiths sound, was disgusting, from John. Interesting point. I think I'd have agreed with that. And then I read Morrissey's autobiography, and I saw his side of things, which is very, very different. And now I don't know anymore.
Okay. But also, I mean, there are people in the paddock who may not be nice people. That's not what's up for debate.
Yes, that's true. It's not the paddock of nice guys.
No. We've had some texts.
Feature idea.
So we've got texts saying the Smiths need to be abattoired. They're pretension personified, and their music is rubbish. From Controversial Dave. Yes, but I think that pretension was knowing, and also there is a place for pretense in music.
Also, it's not prog rock, is it?
No,
it's not Frank Zappa.
What the?
Come on, mate.
Frank Zappa is not pretentious. That is not what he isn't. Another idea for a feature: what is Frank Zappa, and what is he not? A good point from Sarah. She says, "I think they prefer to be in the abattoir." I think that's a good point. They would like it there. It's more miserable. Though Morrissey would find it hard, a lot of blood sloshing round.
Yeah. Although one of my favourite things of Morrissey's autobiography is that he claims to have eaten exclusively toast for the first 15 years of his life. And it's the only thing he'll cook for you. And I watched a documentary about Morrissey, and he invites Nancy Sinatra around for food. He just gives her toast.
But you'd get scurvy, wouldn't you?
Well, you would, but he said, but I think he just ate toast and sort of like cornflakes and just very bland food, because he says that the strong smells like garlic will still make him wretched because of his bland 1960s Mancunian diet. Either way, what a way to add to your legacy, to your myth.
What, toast?
Toast.
We got a text here. Whiny, miserable and boring is how I describe Morrissey's voice, spelt Morisea. Morrissey. Maybe he's from America. Whiny, miserable and boring is how I describe Morrissey's voice.
When I sit out on the veranda, listen to Morrissey, I think to myself, man, you so depressing, boy.
Not a fan of weak, jingly, jangly guitars either. Overall, I've got to call you up on that. I mean, they are at times jingly and jangly, but they are not weak.
No.
That's from Finn in Mac. And we've got another text here. When you see Morrissey now and hear him run through this charming man at about 90 seconds, you realise that as well as the wit, intelligence and panache of the music and lyrics, they were also an amazing rock, possibly rockabilly band, despite the lad contingent.
I've got no problem with the lad contingent. I'm all about that. You're shirtless at football matches, shouting.
Yeah, we differ on that. But I think...
Because you've got a horrible chest.
I haven't got a horrible chest.
Come on, mate. There's nothing to it, and it's utterly hairless.
Well, hairless and pale.
Yeah.
So it's time now to... We've given you an open blank page and said, tell us why the Smiths are overrated. Even though that was your remit, we've still had overwhelming support for the four-piece from Manchester. So, Dave, let's put everyone out of their misery. What's the vibe?
Well, I think we agreed as we set up this week's Sacred Cow feature that both you and Elis love the Smiths. So it was a slightly different one this week. And a few people have come through arguing, like you say, that they're a bit weak or a bit jingly-jangly. But I think the general consensus is, quite overwhelmingly so, that the Smiths needs to go into the paddock of Sacred Cow.
Hey!
And to celebrate that, I'll just give a slight bit of context for this song. It was a reply to a woman who had criticised Morrissey for stealing lyrics. This is Cemetery Gates by the Smiths.
Elis James and John Robbins podcast
XFM.
on XFM.
It's time for one of my favourite features, Dave.
When I get that feeling, I want
Textual.
Textual.
That's right. Every week we ask for one of our listeners to call in with a problem that both John and I will attempt to solve. And we've got a caller on the line. Caller, are you there?
I am. Hi.
Hello. So we're not going to name you because keep you anonymous. What's your? Sorry, I don't know why I had to say that twice. I'm flailing.
It's reassuring, though. Thank you.
Okay. What's your problem?
Well, okay. My dilemma is I have this lovely boyfriend who has a wonderful family. They're originally from another country, and when I'm invited round or we hang out together, the family and the boyfriend together, they don't mean to, and it's just natural, but they talk in their other language, which of course I can't understand.
Are they Welsh?
And I'm not. No, they're not.
Get Elis around as an interpreter.
Yeah, I will do that. In fact, I quite enjoy it.
It's from more sort of like the Eastern Europe. I'm not going to say which country, just in case it gets back to them, but it's kind of from around there. So it's not anything I'd sort of learn at school or anything like that. So I can't understand what they're saying. And I don't want to say they're rude, because they're lovely people, but it's perhaps maybe not courteous if you're invited. I don't know.
You're visiting Eastern Europe, presumably. They're not doing this at your house in England.
In England. They've lived in the UK for about 7 years now. So their house in Wimbledon or my house.
Do they presumably speak English?
They do, yeah, very well. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that throws another line on the fire.
Yeah.
That's not a phrase.
Because I thought you were going over to Eastern Europe and then expecting to learn English on your behalf. And I was going to say, I've got a leg to stand on.
Yeah,
No,
because
I'm
if
not
you went over there and didn't speak in their language, they couldn't say to you, we think it's a bit disrespectful that you're not speaking Kazakhstanese, because you'd be like, well, yeah, but I don't know that. But if they speak English, I can see it's more of a dilemma there. Do they ever break into English at the dinner table?
Yeah, they do. They'll talk to me in English, but if it's a conversation that's flowing nicely and one has something to say to the other, it'll suddenly revert back to their native language. So then, I don't know, I just sort of can't really join in.
So you have
again.
to sort of take a back seat then?
Yeah, sort of start taking an interest in the floor or something. It's just a bit awkward.
I mean, how long have you been with your boyfriend?
Coming up to about 10 months now, I think.
Okay, and not wanting to press you on this, is it gonna go all the way? I mean that in a sort of not in a rude sense, but is this a long-term thing?
Yes, yeah, it is, yeah.
Well, I mean, I think you're gonna have to learn a bit of Polish. Or any other language that might be
Estonian.
Estonian.
And I gigged in Estonia, and they've got excellent Wi-Fi. It's a sort of it's one of those sort of economies where everything's on the web.
I just mimed shooting myself in the head twice. If that's of any help.
I ignored it because that disturbs me.
But could you? So, I mean, Elis, for example, is a Welsh speaker.
Yeah.
His family bilingual, and Elis's girlfriend learned Welsh.
Yes, she's learning Welsh. And even though we live in London now, she's going to a night school in Covent Garden, because I would never speak English to my parents or my sisters, and we do speak English when my girlfriend's there, because of the problems that you're facing. But it is genuinely hard to switch, and I think the people who aren't bilingual don't realise how tricky that can be. Like, for instance, my auntie and uncle, I've never ever spoken English with them, and when my cousin got an English girlfriend, it was like, hello, I hope that the gravy is nice, and it's harder than you'd think. So I do have some sympathy for your Eastern European boyfriend's family, because also they're going to want to keep. They don't want to lose their first language, even though they've moved. So it's probably an important thing for them as well, because identity is so sort of sewn up in language and stuff. So I do have some sympathy, but I can accept that it's awkward. Do you know what I would do? I would learn a few phrases in your boyfriend's Eastern European language, just to show willing. That's what I would do.
Yeah, I think if you were able to start a conversation in that language, or say pass the
pepper, salt, sausages.
Pass the pepper, salt and sausages. I do not like an under-seasoned sausage. Then that's a good opening gambit. And I think then they might say, or learn the phrase in that language for, guys, FFS, I'm right here. Can you just speak a bit of English?
Because my parents, because my girlfriend speaks Welsh to my parents, and they absolutely love it. It doesn't blow their minds, but my dad in particular, he's just like, yeah! Because she's the only girlfriend who tried.
When I speak Welsh to my mum, she just stares blankly at me, checks for signs of facial distortion, goes on.
Meningitis. John's got meningitis.
NHS Direct. So I think what our conclusion is, learn a little bit, give a bit, you've got to meet them halfway, and just say, hey guys, I want to be part of your wonderful family, so, let's mix it up. Or an alternative, controversial route, invent a third language that you can all learn together.
Yeah.
Like a sort of version of Pig Latin or Middle Earth speak.
Yeah.
You've probably just really offended listeners in Namibia.
Yeah. Sorry, guys.
XFM. Elis James and John Robbins on XFM podcast.
That was Tighten Up by the Black Keys. Both the title of the song and the name of the band taken from a friend of theirs who was a piano tuner. Now it is time for Winner Plays On, where Elis and I compete over 5 questions on specialist topics to play one of our all-time favourite tracks. Last week, you'll remember if you were listening or downloaded the podcast, Harry Potter and Blur tied, forcing a playoff which was won by Harry Potter. I rushed Elis on his topic. He has picked Led Zeppelin for this week.
Yeah, because we've just been talking about Led Zeppelin, and I've only just realised that I don't know very much about Led Zeppelin.
So,
But it was the power of suggestion.
it's Potter versus Zepp. Elis, heads or tails?
Tails for Wales, please.
And it is Tails for Wales.
Right, I'll go first. Let's get this over and done with.
And what's your track that you're playing?
Cigarettes and Alcohol by Oasis, should the unthinkable happen.
And I am playing Starman by David Bowie. So I think we all know who everyone wants to win. Elis, 5 questions on Led Zeppelin starting now. 1. From what did Led Zeppelin change their name to Led Zeppelin?
I don't know.
It was the New Yardbirds.
Oh, I know. I would dispute that.
Well, you'd be wrong.
Oh, because
In
all right,
1977... Well, you didn't give an answer anyway.
Yes, but I don't think that's a...
In 1977, Led Zeppelin broke the record for attendance at a single-act music gig to the nearest 1,000. What was the attendance?
68,000.
Very close, 76,229. In 1974, Led Zeppelin launched their own record label. What was it called?
Swan Song.
Correct. What was their first album on that label?
It's not Led Zeppelin 1, 2, 3 or 4. I think it's Physical Graffiti.
Correct.
Ooh.
In 1985, Page, Plant and Jones reunited for Live Aid in Philadelphia. Which 2 drummers featured in place of John Bonham?
Phil Collins.
Correct.
There was... it's going to be someone mad. It's going to be like the drummer of Spandau Ballet or something stupid, is it?
Close. It was Tony Thompson, the drummer from Chic. So, Elis, you got 2 there. Pretty good, man.
That's not too bad, actually. I love Led Zeppelin. I haven't consumed Led Zeppelin in the way that I have other groups.
Sure.
So, however...
I mean, I've consumed Harry Potter in ways you wouldn't believe.
You've consumed this next guy in ways that I find disturbing. So, here we go. Question 1. Name the half-giant who gives Harry his first contact with the world of wizardry.
Hagrid.
Yes.
Rubius Hagrid, Keeper of Keys. At Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry.
Who is Hogwarts Potion Master?
Well, it changes depending... So it was Severus Snape.
Yes, that's the answer I'm looking for. What is the language of snakes? Harry discovers he is able to speak.
Parselmouth.
No, it's parcel tongue.
Oh, he is a Parselmouth. He's all right. Oh, I'm angry.
Who guides Harry through the Tri-Wizard tournament?
Oh, well, that's interesting because it is it's 2 different people because it's someone pretending to be someone else, and it is Professor.
It's a great name. It's the reason I chose this question is because the name made me laugh.
I'm going to kill myself.
It's Alastair Mad-Eye Moody.
It is, but it's not him. So that question's not technically right.
Oh, okay. In Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, who does Ron develop an infatuation with?
Lavender Brown.
Yes, correct. Well, you've absolutely destroyed me there.
Well, I haven't actually. 3-2, I think.
Is it only 3-2?
Yeah, 3-2 to John.
I'm so annoyed at myself. Moody. Of course it's Mad-Eye Moody.
Yeah, of
And
course.
Parcel. Mouth, parcel, tongue.
Well,
Mouth, tongue, same thing when you're in love.
I got my questions from Wikipedia because I haven't read Harry Potter because I am an adult.
Well, then you've missed out on Roald Dahl. You've missed out.
But I read that as a child.
Well,
that was
then
fine.
have you never reread it as an adult?
No.
Well, you should, because it's good.
Yeah, well, I've got other things on my mind, like adult things like critical illness cover and life assurance. That said, it's all academic now. John, well done, congratulations.
Thank you very much. That takes my tally to something insane. And as to celebrate my win, I'm going to play a David Bowie track, the first David Bowie track I learnt to play on guitar at school. It's Starman.
XFM. Elis James and John Robbins on XFM podcast.
That was Starman by David Bowie to celebrate my victory. Both Elis and producer Dave were incandescent with rage that I didn't pick Heroes as my Bowie
Which
track.
is the best Bowie song by a mile.
Well, I don't
They're all
think...
great, but that is the best by a mile, and you are wrong, and David Bowie is the best, and John is
Well, I
wrong,
know
and
he's
you're
great, but
an idiot.
I'm not sure that that's a received wisdom.
I think it is. Do text or tweet in. Text us on 83936 or tweet us at XFM if you think that John is wrong, because Heroes is the best David Bowie song and everyone knows that.
Well, unfortunately, Elis, I've been right for a record 11th time on my specialist subject. I think you've won 4 times. Once of those was heavily disputed. It was Farthingate. We had someone text in say, actually, it's the defence of the dark arts teacher that changes yearly. Fact 1, defence against the dark arts, not defence of the dark arts. That would not be sanctioned by Professor Dumbledore. Also, yes, the defence against the dark arts teacher does change yearly. Also, the potions master changes once from Severus Snape to Slughorn. So
listen to yourself. You're in your 30s.
with my finger on the nub of alternative culture on XFM,
Loud.
picking people up on basic Harry Potter errors.
That is unbelievable. You're going to listen to this podcast, and I know you'll listen to it and you think, I sound really cool there.
So,
I sound great.
Elis, who's your topic for next week?
I can't believe I haven't chosen them. I'm going to choose the Beatles, and I am quietly confident.
Are they the band from the 60s?
Merseybeat band.
Merseybeat band.
Quite big in the 60s.
I'll find them on Wikipedia.
Yeah, I'm sure you will.
Have they got a page?
I think so, yeah. There'll be a basic discography and maybe a quick bio of the 4. You probably wouldn't have heard of some of them because you're not that into music.
No. Well, not into music for kids. Like music for grown-ups.
No, you like books for kids.
Well, so what?
Oh, Severus Snape who was in charge of the potions.
Well, he was.
Oh, I'm going to have a rum and coke now and cry.
Or as I call it, Saturdays. Nothing wrong with
Reading children's literature and crying whilst you're drunk. Yes, you do, John.
We've all got emotional when we're drunk. Always, all of us. I don't do it whilst reading Harry Potter.
Elis James and John Robbins podcast. XFM.
Johnny Marr, I love so much. Johnny Marr and guitarist the Smiths, that I was offered the chance to meet him and I refused because I thought I am going to get this wrong.
What was the circumstances of you potentially meeting Marr?
He was a guitarist in the Cribs. Was it? No. Yeah, the Cribs. About 10 years ago, and they'd played a gig at Cardiff Uni, and my girlfriend at the time was a DJ at one of Cardiff's indie clubs, and she texted me saying, Elis, Johnny Marr has come to the Club of a Bach for a drink. Oh my God. And obviously he was getting mobbed because he was in an indie club on a Wednesday night, so the place went mental when he walked in. So he was sort of taking refuge in the DJ booth, and she said, listen, he's super nice. Come and meet him, because I've told him that you're a big fan. He's a really approachable bloke. He wants to meet you. It'll be great. And Marr takes his clothes quite seriously. And all of my best clothes were in the wash. I didn't
absolutely ridiculous.
And I didn't own a tumble dryer. And I thought to myself, he's going to see me in my lounging gear and think, oh, what sort of person? Oh God! I thought he'll.
You're having a pop at me for reading Harry Potter, and you refused to meet one of your heroes because you didn't have the right clothes.
Yes, because I was wearing a terrible jumper, and producer Dave, I can tell from his eyes, agrees with me on this, don't you, producer Dave?
Yes.
Yeah.
Some might say you didn't have a stitch to wear, did you?
Oh, very good. Very good.
Classic.
Oh, wow. A lot of people question what you bring to the group, Dave, but I think you've more than earned your money there. But I couldn't do it, and I thought I'll get really, really tongue-tied, and the music's really loud, so I'll be shouting in his ear, you mean a lot to me, Johnny! And I really regret it. I massively regret it. But John, who is a bigger Queen fan than I am a fan of anything, got to meet Brian May last night, which is, I would say, probably one of the best moments of your life, do you think?
In terms of meeting people, yes, definitely May and Taylor in one swoop.
Yeah.
I met Bonnie Prince Billy once very briefly. He ran past me once and walked past me and a third time.
Oh.
Met Jarvis Cocker.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How?
At a Bonnie Prince Billy gig in London at the Barbican, and he was just in the foyer, and I said, hi, is it all right if I get a photo? And there's me... Sorry. Dave, you had your moment in the sun and you threw it away.
Sorry.
And I stood next to Jarvis. There's a photo of me wearing my Mogwai t-shirt that says Blur R.
Yeah.
Expletive. And I said to him, what do you think of the band? He went, I thought they were a bit messy.
Oh.
And I kind of lost interest in him after that because I thought it was excellent.
Oh, okay.
But so last night I met May and Taylor, and we were asking you earlier about your experiences of meeting your heroes, and we had a tweet in from Annie May Tick, which says, at XFM, I've met at Truman Black 4 times, at 1975 Han twice, Ross MacDonald 3 times, and G. Dan's 1975 twice. They're my all-time favourite musicians. Now, I do not know who any of those people are, so I'm going to get Elis to see if he can decipher who those people are.
Well, I'm taking an educated guess here. I think that at least 2 of them are in the band The 1975. If they're not in the band The 1975, then they are 39 years of age.
Okay, so the 1975 Han and G. Dan's 1975 are from the 1975. Who is Ross MacDonald?
I'm hoping that he's a reclusive member of the 1975 who doesn't have Twitter, because he's the only one in this message who doesn't have a Twitter handle.
He's the John Deacon of the group.
Yeah, she hasn't. Annie hasn't messaged him, so I'm hoping that Ross MacDonald is maybe the bassist or the drummer and has gone, do you know what? I don't like the modern world. I think social media is overrated as a form of communicating with your fans, so I'm not going to do it,
sounds like the sort of person, he might have won like X Factor 4. Ross MacDonald, that sounds like that sort of name.
Yes. Yeah.
Who is Truman Black?
Well, isn't he being filmed by people, but he's the only one on the planet who doesn't realise?
That's the Truman Show.
Yeah, sorry.
So, well, congratulations on having met those 4 absolute megastars.
Truman Black is also in the 1975. I just realised. Matty from the 1975 is his real name.
And that's not his given name, Matty from the 1975.
No, but I don't know why he's called himself Truman Black on Twitter, but there we go.
Okay. And Ross MacDonald? Any further?
He's also in the band, the Beat Combo 1975.
Okay, so basically what Annie May Tick is saying is I've met the 1975.
Yeah.
FM, Elis James and John Robbins podcast.
It's time to say goodbye. What a fantastic show we've had.
I want to say a thank you to a listener who did something very sweet to me.
Yeah.
So on Wednesday, I did a gig in Finsbury, an Edinburgh preview, and it was an absolute car crash. And it was genuinely, I haven't had a gig like that for 2 years.
Yeah.
So most of the time I was on stage thinking, this isn't happening, is it? And the audience were just not engaged at all. There was these 2 girls, one of them was taking photos, the other one was texting, and I said, what are you doing? You're not engaging in any way. And they went, waiting for it to get funny. And I was like, you haven't paid, I'm not getting paid, the venue aren't making any money, how dare you turn your nose up at free entertainment, you entitled middle class idiot. And
I mean, whether it's entertainment, the bone of contention there.
And it went downhill from there, and I started tripping over words and just got. And at one point, I just halfway through a bit went, "You shouldn't be mean to people."
Did you do an hour?
I bailed after about 40 minutes.
Right. Okay.
But anyway, afterwards, this guy came up and he said, "Oh, I really enjoyed that." And I said, "I'm sorry. I just wanted to leave." I said, "Look, I'm so sorry. It was awful." And he said, "I listened to the show." And then I got home and he tweeted me saying, "I know you didn't enjoy it, but we thought it was good." And I said, I apologised again and said, "Look, it was so embarrassing."
Oh, fair play.
And he tweeted me just a picture, which I will now retweet on my my Twitter, which is a picture of Freddie Mercury with a quote which says, "A real talent will always find its way."
Oh, wow.
I genuinely was really touched, and I thought that was a very sweet thing to do. So Stuart Edwards, at SRJ Edwards, thank you very much. You really made that good.
Well, I hope he's listening. If not, I hope he listens to the podcast, and I hope that makes it into the podcast, as it should. And if he's a fan of the show, he'll know that after your tough gig, and we all have tough gigs, John, it's not just you, everyone, every comic on earth has tough gigs, he'll know that you went home and you would have found solace in the goblet of Elsinore, Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Elis James and John Robbins podcast on XFM.
Thanks for downloading. Thanks for listening. We're on every Sunday between 10 and 1. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
If you like this podcast, why not check out some of the other great ones available to download at xfm.co.uk. XFM. Josh Widdicombe.
Vaccines on XFM. This is Josh Widdicombe on a Saturday morning. And now we are joined by our first guest, Mr. Rob Beckett.
Oh, thanks, mate. I really appreciate you having me on.
It's all right. You know,
really
it's
do.
good to help out someone who needs it.
Yeah.
How are you?
Yeah, good.
Yeah?
All right, mate. Yeah. Feeling fresh.
Feeling fresh?
Yeah.
What would you normally be doing at this time? Listening to the show, obviously.
Yeah, listening to this.
If you didn't have digital radio.
Trying to desperately tune into something else. But unfortunately for me, it's all I can get on my... Alright, no, I don't know, really. It's all different, isn't it? You know, it's like being a comedian. Some days just laying in my pants playing FIFA, the good days.
The good days.
Or, you know, sitting in a hotel waiting to go home from somewhere the night before.
Yeah, you know you're allowed to leave.
Yeah, I know, but I always think if you've got a checkout time, stick to it. They've given you that grace. I'm getting me full 3 hours out of this.
That'd be brilliant if you hadn't understood what a checkout time was.
What? So I'm just like you're locked in like a prison sentence.
It's like the Crystal Maze.
Going down reception, I was on parole at 7 a.m. I was like, I'm on train in an hour, come on.
Also, have I got to eat breakfast for 3 hours?
Music that rocks. XFM.